Welcome everyone to this session on using Flint as a curriculum coordinator. Today's session will be run a little bit differently because one of the people that I asked to do the share out, she can only stay for 30 minutes. So I'll start off with some icebreaking news. I'll give a quick overview of Flint, and then we'll go ahead and do the share out, and then I'll do a walkthrough of how you can create some activities in chats. But yeah, as always, the recording will be available later. Feel free to ask any questions along the way. And I'll go ahead and get started there. Today's icebreaking news is also a little bit different. It's actually this podcast that I found from EdSurge. It was posted last October, but I feel like it was kind of an interesting one to listen to as I was prepping for this presentation because it talks through this one educator who was trying to make his own teaching assistant basically. And he was just using like a ChatGPT project, but it was really cool to see how it evolved over time and how his understanding of how teachers interact with AI evolved over time. And something that he said was, it's going to take us a while to figure out in our own heads how to break apart our own tasks so that we can think like AI-enabled humans. And he said he was talking to someone who worked for an LMS company and said that that person said that it took 25 years for the majority of instructors to be fluent in teaching online with an LMS. So right now, it's like hard to imagine how you can use AI for like all of the different tasks. So sometimes when I bring up like this topic, like how do we use Flint for curriculum, people are like, oh yeah, we can do that. It's not just an activity creation tool or like a homework helper tool. So basically the idea of how do we take the tools that we already use and branch that out into new use cases is like something that's hard to imagine. So that's why we're here today and talking about these new use cases, and I'm excited to share with you all some examples of people and some examples of activities that have really kind of pushed the bounds of what Flint was originally built to do, I guess. I'll share out the slides at the end of after this meeting, and you'll get the link to this podcast and also the website where they were doing this project, and you can listen to it and read more to it as well. Like I said, we have 2 shareouts today and want to get to them more quickly. So I'll just give a really quick overview of what Flint is for those of you all who are maybe just getting started. Essentially, when it comes to curriculum planning, Flint can help you as a brainstorming partner to create lesson plans based on different standards. You can use their research partner as well to research different teaching approaches and options. And you can upload a bunch of content into Flint. It can ingest it and analyze that content and data, and then you can also have it generate writing for you, the bread and butter of most AI models here. And there are 2 things in Flint that you can use for these various purposes. There are chats and activities. And so with chats, these are like one-off conversations. It's kind of like you're chatting with ChatGPT, but a more like secure environment that will not be using anything that you upload to train the models. They're great for quick answers or ideas and for some free-form brainstorming and content generation. But on the other hand, the activities in Flint, I say this is like what we focus most of our time developing. These are these sorts of recurring conversations that you can have with different bots that you design, essentially. And these are designed to have specific outputs or interactions, and you can put in the parameters for that. And these are easy to share as an assistant. So those sorts of activities are what you can design for other teachers to use, or typically what teachers are designing for students to use. And those can take on different forms as well. Like I said at the beginning, we'll go ahead and go into the share out for reasons. But essentially today I asked Megan Smith from Wesleyan School to share about this template that she created based on their school's AI policy to help their teachers with lesson planning. And then Jeff is also here to share about how he created a registration bot to help students plan their courses and make sure that they get all of their credits to graduate. Yeah. Megan, do you want to go ahead? Feel free to share your screen if you want, or you can just talk.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today, Lulu. I'm excited to share about the, I think you called it a bot. I've been calling it all different kinds of things. I'm glad to know the correct terminology. I think I've called it like a tool, a module, like an activity. But I designed it to really meet a need that I was seeing in my school. So I was excited to work on developing the AI policy for Wesleyan. We are a K-12 private Christian school in the Atlanta area, and we were really grappling with the idea of creating an AI policy that met the needs of all of our learners, and we kind of settled on a range starting in fourth grade. So I'm a fourth grade teacher, and fourth grade is kind of the lowest grade that students are independently using AI at Wesleyan, and it goes all the way up to 12th grade. So we created this AI policy, but the problem that we were facing is that many teachers, despite the policy, despite training, despite all that, I think they just still felt a little bit of either hesitancy or just a little bit of the unknown, like not really sure how to integrate AI kind of seamlessly in their lessons for student-facing activities. So they were doing a great job of using it to plan and make our lives easier as teachers. But in terms of how we make our instruction better through AI, I think that was a way that an area that we kind of needed to focus on. So I was trying to figure out how to do that in a way that wasn't too cumbersome. And I think Lulu, I don't remember exactly how this started, but I feel like we just kind of started talking, and I was like, hey, is it possible for me to use Flint in ways that are not just direct student and teacher activities? And that was kind of, I think it was new at that time. Like we hadn't really ever tried something like that before. So I'm just gonna kind of show you what I made, and then I'll take any questions. I have until 11. I have another meeting to run to. So if it's okay with you, Lulu, I'll share my screen.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna share my entire screen because, to be honest, I still am not, despite all my AI practice, I still don't really feel like I do a good job of screen sharing. So Lulu, can you tell me if you can see my Flint screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what I did is I went up here. Now this activity is in the template. If you go into the templates library, I did upload it there because I needed Wesleyan teachers to have access to it. So if you want to see this after this call, it is available in the templates library if you search it. But first, I'm just going to kind of demonstrate what it looks like on my end. So these are all my activities, and this is what the AI integration tool looks like. So I'm going to click Start Session. And a couple things that I really wanted this to do is that I wanted it to walk through the process of planning not only a really good lesson, but also planning a really intentional AI integrated lesson. So with that, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see the AI policy that we developed at Wesleyan really fast, just to kind of explain what you're seeing. These top and bottom sections here are designed to tell students what they're always allowed to do and never allowed to do. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. That's more for the students. We have some citation, a citation area as well up there where they can get information about that. The middle part of this is where we were focusing as teachers. This is sort of the levels of integration that we would expect to see in classrooms. So I kind of thought about it as a progression. We read, I think it was AI for Educators. I think it was by Matt Miller, but I just thought about, okay, as I teach, how do lessons get progressively more challenging? So how do we as teachers make sure that the rigor increases intentionally? AI is just kind of an extension of that. So you'll see it starts here at the generation level. This is designed to start at the bottom and work your way up. So the generation level is kind of the most basic level of what we would expect students to be using AI to do. So for example, at the generation level, all they're doing is really basic, like one step up from studying, basically just getting answers, researching, gaining background information, sort of like a glorified Google. And then it kind of goes up from there to the transformation level, which is when it's really kind of the real world stuff that you would absolutely not be able to do without the use of AI. So just kind of an overview of what our policy looks like. This is what we were working with. So in terms of the Flint lesson planning activity that I created, I wanted this on the right-hand side to be available to teachers to remind them, like, This is our policy. This is what we're trained on. This is what we should be doing, right? This is the goal. But you can kind of get rid of that when you come in here. And then teachers see this. So as they scroll down, this was the part that was kind of really important to me as I was working through creating this activity. I wanted to make sure that I got my prompt right, because we know, I mean, AI, half the battle is just that you prompt the AI well. So if you click on that little, it kind of was that gray box. I actually wrote this as a prompt that will automatically populate whenever the teachers come into this activity. So all they have to do is just insert their information into these lines, and it will then help them develop a lesson that they want to be creating, or a unit, or whatever makes sense to them. So for example, if I'm a 4th grade teacher, I'm going to add that in there. I'm teaching the Oregon Trail, because I actually am teaching that in my social studies class. I have, let's say, 45 minutes to teach this, and I'm just going to plan for 1 day of instruction right now. So what was important to me is that teachers had the option, if they were someone who, I feel great about the progression, I know exactly where I want my kids to get to, I just really don't know what a transformational level AI integrated lesson plan looks like, because I've never seen that. We've never done this before. If you kind of know where you want to get to, I wanted to give them that option so they could put that in that blank space there. But then if they weren't sure of what level that they wanted to get to, and they're kind of just starting out, then it gave them the option down here of, I'm not really sure of how to integrate. So I'm going to kind of show you that, because a lot of our teachers are actually in this bottom sentence prompt right here. A lot of our teachers kind of fell into that box. Until they get more used to this, we're gonna kind of see a lot more people saying, I'm not sure how to integrate AI. So when you click that, it'll start to populate some information, and the teachers kind of go from there. Excuse me. So this is just going to kind of walk you through. As you can see, you have a transformational level activity, you have an evaluation level activity, collaboration. It kind of goes through the whole policy and gives you some options of activities that you could do at every level of what we would expect teachers to be using. And then it kind of goes from there. The cool thing about this is that it gives you ideas about how to use the AI, but also it gives you sources. It can generate images. It can generate worksheets, whatever you really need. The key part of this is that at the end of all of it, what I wanted to make sure that this could do was help a teacher create an activity that they then can put into Flint for students. So I'm going to see if I can find a previous session that I did. Yeah, so this is a previous session. And as you can see, what I said is I want these activities to be completed by Flint. And so what it does is it gives me the directions that I would then just click and copy this. And I would go all the way down to the bottom and copy all that verbiage that Flint is giving me. And I would put that into the chat. So I'll kind of do that for you here. I would put that into the chat of a new activity that I'm going to be making. So if I'm going into a new activity and I want to create something for students, I just paste the directions that Flint has given me from that AI planning module or bot. I put it there, and then Flint can help me develop the activity that I will then put in my slides, right, as a QR code or email or anything like that. It then helps the teacher create that exact activity plan, so they don't have to be the ones kind of working through that. And that kind of took away some of the barriers of entry for our teachers, because a lot of them, I mean, myself included, like this was all new when Flint was rolled out. We really did not have good training prior to that on AI. I think like most people did. So kind of in a nutshell, that's what I created, and it has allowed our teachers to, I guess, just like walk through this a little bit with some support. And then the more confident they get, the less support of that they're going to need. They're going to know what level of the policy they want to hit. They're going to be able to come over here and work through the building manually side of things, changing this behavior, and they're going to feel a little bit more confident with that. But it's been a really nice entry point for our teachers. They're using it a lot in the middle school and high school. I did push this out to all of our faculty, kind of 5th through 12th, and then I lead the 4th grade team, so I trained my team on that as well. So I know that was a lot of information. I didn't know if anyone wants to, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Good.
I just want to say I feel like your example was basically spot on with what I heard in the podcast that I mentioned at the very beginning, where, like teachers are still trying to figure out what exactly they use AI for, because it's not natural to bucket all of the tasks that you do or all of the lessons that you're planning into like ones that AI could help with and ones that AI won't. So yeah, I think like activities in Flint that are built to increase teacher creativity and like help them kind of talk through what that looks like is very helpful. Yeah, go ahead, Miriam.
Hey, Megan, thank you so much for the demonstration. My question is just from my understanding that you created this kind of module as kind of a in the back where the teacher can again like copy paste this and just use this as kind of the base thing to start from, and then is that basically what you did? Correct. So do you mind if you walk me through like where did you start from? Just maybe I missed that. Thank you.
No, thank you for asking. I do tend to talk really fast. So thank you for reminding me. I need to go back and show you. So if you come to the Flint homepage, can everyone see my screen? I think, yeah, I'm sharing it. Okay. So if you come to the Flint homepage and you're looking for this, you can go into the templates. So I think it's it activities. Yeah. So if you click this explore activity templates box right here, or link right there, it'll take you to the template library. And if you type in the name of my school, so if you type in Wesleyan, it's the only one that's in there right now, but it pops up. So you can kind of see our template in here. This is our policy. So, I think it would depend on what your school's policy is, but it at least kind of gives you a starting point for you to kind of play around with it. So if you click use this template and click use activity template, once you're in here, you should then be able to go into the bot itself, and you can take out, like, if you don't want to have my, the school's policy in there and you want your own school's policy in there, you can do that. You can kind of change whatever part of this you want to change. But it will kind of give you a chance to play around with it as well. So if I'm a teacher or if I'm a curriculum, like a curriculum and instruction coordinator, and I'm coming here, without the Wesleyan policy in there, I'm just going to come here to this bottom part where it's like that gray sort of prompt at the bottom, and I'm going to click that, and that will get you started. That will populate that initial box. And then from there, it'll kind of walk you through it the way that the Flint activities walk the students through them as well.
Yeah, and Miriam, I'll like show you how to build something similar from scratch at the end, or like later in the session. But yeah, I think using Megan's template is also like a really good option if it's closely aligned with what you want to create.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Megan, real quick, what sort of iterations did you have to do? Like, what were like when you did it? Is this you nailed it the first time, or were there issues where some of the teachers have issues? Just kind of wondering like what to expect if I tried to roll this out. Like, what were like some of the frequently asked questions, or what were like the hiccups that you encountered?
Yes. No, I I definitely did not nail this on the first time. But what I did was I started by asking Lulu if this was even going to be possible. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Lulu for helping me understand that, like, to kind of see the AI in a different way. Once I feel like I shifted my thinking a little bit, I actually spent a long time chatting back and forth with Flint in the chat box of just kind of like, almost like you would talk to a colleague, like, this is what I want to do. Like, can you help me? What do I need to consider? There were a couple of times that I went to an outside AI source as well, just to kind of like bounce things off of them too. Like, I think I went to maybe ChatGPT and was like, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Help me see any gaps. Once I did that, I kind of created like the first version. And then I did some like focus groups. So I just pulled some teachers. I try to have like a representative group of people that I asked. So I went to like high school history, I went to middle school English, I went to high school science, like the ones that I felt like were going to be probably most likely to use something like this, and the ones that are the most complicated, like history teachers, you know, you have to be spot on with your sources, right? Like that's a really big deal to them. So just really understanding some of those holes. And so as I went there and I was like, give me a lesson that's coming up, let's walk through it and see what like holes and gaps are revealed. That helps me kind of refine it. So once I had done all that, then I pushed it out to the head of the high school and the middle school. And I think a dean or two was in that meeting as well. And they played around with it and gave me some feedback. And then once all of that happened, I created a how-to video and a PDF document that kind of walked them through step by step. The only thing to know is that sometimes if you create a PDF document, I've had to change it as Flint updates have happened because not everything like stays in the same place. So it has to be a little bit more of a living document. But I would say just kind of like really gaining kind of buy-in from a lot of different people was helpful. And mostly what changed was not so much the behavior of like how the activity functioned. It was more of that prompt at the bottom that I had to get like really correct. And I would say that probably took the longest.
That's perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yossi?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Super helpful. I was curious to know, actually, Lulu, is this something that you're thinking about integrating more kind of organically into the product in terms of, you know, in the way that you have, you know, you can put in what types of standards you want the activity to align to? Maybe is there some way to have, you know, AI use tiers somehow built into activities in some way?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think we've thought of that specifically actually, but something that our team is like exploring right now is general guidelines across a workspace. So for example, like Megan had to give Flint all of the context of like, hey, we're like a K-12 Christian school in Georgia. Like that could be something that you put into the general guidelines. So that might also be able to be used as like, hey, these are like the different levels of AI that we want to use at our school, or like this is a summary of our AI policy. And then Flint would like have that knowledge as it's creating activities across the board. Yeah, still in the works, but maybe. Good question. Great. Any other questions for Megan? Cool, awesome. Yeah, and Jeff, I also had brought you on to talk about, I guess more so the like other side of the spectrum of curriculum planning, what happens when students have to navigate your curriculum and figure out what they want to do with their schedules. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeff Smith. I'm the Dean of Academics here at the Stony Brook School. We're a 7 through 12 boarding school on the North Shore of Long Island. We have kids from 30 plus countries. We have an online program with another 200 kids, and we have about 500 here on campus. And I bring that context in primarily because it's actually helped shape one of the ways that we've leveraged Flint. So this time of year, although we use Flint a ton in things like, I could talk about our curriculum guide that we made that Flint basically helped us make this year. And there's a whole bunch of other things I'd be happy to talk about in terms of lesson planning and the amazing work that Wesleyan's doing too. One of the ways that we've started using Flint is in the course registration process. Here at Stony Brook, and I'm going to share my entire screen as well, if that's okay. But here at the Stony Brook School, course registration is kind of a pretty high stakes game. We have a lot of kids who are very academically driven and a lot of families who are very opinionated on what courses kids want to take. And then we also have families from across the world and from many different languages. And we don't speak all of those languages as much as we try to. And so what we actually made about a month ago was a chatbot via Flint that we give to all of our new students and our returning students as we are just wrapping up course registration. Basically, we trained it to help give course advice, tailored advice to every kid. Kids can ask questions about it, and kids can get, whether they're a new student or a returning student, they can get all sorts of custom tailored input. We've already had several hundred uses of it, which we're pretty excited about, and a couple different things. And so what I'd like to do is show you all here some of the things that we have been using. So this is what it looks like. So we made it to have these kind of pre-populated boxes of I'm a new student looking for courses for the first time. I'm a returning student. We have what we call a 4-year graduation plan. So that's when we make a plan of kids' classes for the rest of their time at Stony Brook. And they think through what it might be. And then there's also a button of, can you explain the graduation requirements? And so one of the biggest things that we've really liked about this, we've used it several different iterations, but the ability for it to translate into languages has been like incredibly essential for us. It's been like totally transformative. We have several hundred students from China, and the ability for it to speak fluent Chinese has been like radically awesome for us, and won us so many points with a lot of our families, and a lot of other languages that Flint/Claude speak has been super helpful. So basically what we do is we train it so that a kid types in whether they're a new student or not, they type it in, and then it'll sort of do an introduction and talk through some opening questions that I trained it on, and then eventually it'll give you recommendations based on your grade level, your previous coursework, and then your academic goals. I wanted to show a couple of the ways that we've trained it and how I sort of set it up. The longer version is I built it with Flint, and it took several hours of kind of training it. But I wanted to show some of the things that we've uploaded to it. So what I primarily did was upload a couple of background documents. So the first one is our course catalog. I'll just show this to you all quickly, although I guess it refreshed here. So this is like all of our classes, and it talks about our academic vision and things like that. So that was sort of trained on it for being, what courses can it include in there, and then what sort of recommendations might it make. I also included what we call the 4-year plan that I mentioned right here. So this is basically a sample plan, and I had it filled out, and I uploaded a couple different examples. And down here at the bottom, we have different sample plans for kids. So this is what they might take if they're focused on the STEM classes or the humanities classes, etc. So all of that was just designed to train the model to sort of think like us and how we recommend classes as our office works. And then the other thing is we spent a long time writing this Google Doc, which is basically just being really bossy to Flint and telling it exactly what we want it to say when we want it to say it. And then so this is several pages of me just writing constantly about stuff and telling it, if they say this, then have them do this. If they say that, then have them do this. And then we go through and we do all of these sorts of conversations with it. And that took by far the longest amount of time. And then every time that we would find errors in there, we would have to parse it out. I will say that Flint has been really incredible when we go to this build with Flint side, when we kept getting errors in there. So for example, we don't have a geometry honors class. And for whatever reason, something I wrote kept tricking it into recommending geometry honors. And I was like pulling my hair out over this. I was like, no, don't do that. What I eventually wound up doing is in the build with Flint, I just started talking to it about the problems with my prompt engineering. And so what I said was, hey, what did I do wrong to keep making it recommend geometry honors? And then it would scan through and it would show me specifically where in my prompt engineering I messed up, and it would make a recommendation about how I could fix it. So I basically realized from that the hard way that what I needed to do is get better at prompt engineering. So then I used Flint and I used ChatGPT, and I kind of took that one Google Doc and I just iterated it multiple times through multiple different AI platforms to try to maximize how we train the bot. And it wound up getting to a pretty good spot. And so we wound up, as you can see here, this current session has over 100, and that's just in the last couple weeks here. And it's been used in like 6 different languages and all these sorts of fun things. And it's wound up being really, really successful for us. We're just really grateful for Flint and for thinking it through with us, and for Sohan and Lulu and all they do. It's another thing that we are doing with this. We're not done with this, but we are actually going to be building into this a math and world languages placement test. So this summer, we're also, we get a lot of transcripts for our high school students for kids who are coming from another country, another curriculum, and it just says math on their transcript. And we're like, does that mean algebra 2? Does that mean calculus? What does that mean? And we have a lot of different math classes. So, it's, students from different curriculums know a little bit, and there's never a perfect fit. And so we've been doing testing online through Formative for these kids since COVID, and it's been fine. But what we're doing now is building out both for world languages and for math, a Flint sort of placement test. And we're training it so that we worked with Sohan and the grade recommendations that go in there, those are going to be the placement. So this is why we're recommending Algebra 2 honors. This is why we're recommending pre-calculus honors, whatever it might be. And then it'll be able to place the student immediately. And that alone, to be honest with you, in my office is probably going to save us like 100 hours this summer, because we just logistically, it's a very time consuming thing for us to get all these families to do it, and then the department chair to grade it, and then to get the input. And now we're really excited to hopefully be able to have a lot more free time this summer, thanks to Flint. So we're very grateful for that. And so I'd be happy to walk through more of this and show you kind of some of the stuff that it does, but it's, you know, if you were to go in, you could say, I'm going into 10th grade and I like math. And then it would walk through and it would tell me, you know, hey, here's some of the other things. And you say, I've taken Algebra 2 and I like science as well. And one of the really nice things too, I should mention at the risk of talking too long, is that we have been able to see what families are doing. And so when we've been going in and seeing what families have entered into this, we've been able to train the chatbot to maximize it. So if I go off to the side and click on what other kids have done, I see that they were getting bad information about our business classes. So then what I did is I went in and retrained the bot on how to recommend business classes. Or I saw that some families were asking questions the wrong way and were basically saying, is this class full yet? And I was like, well, that's not like what the AI is going to know. So then I was able to train the AI to gently correct the families in those situations. So this all looks really good. Actually, there's an error in here that I'll train out, but it's got really helpful recommendations that are all generally very accurate for us. And we've just been super thrilled and really appreciate it and are grateful for Flint. I'd be happy to answer any questions about how SPS has used Flint for these sorts of things, but are really grateful for y'all's time and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Someone in the chat was saying that they came across your academic integrity policy and really loved it. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and then Mark Bradley was saying, can you share the Flint course registration prompt engineering Google Doc or the course selection guide?
Yeah, sure. Let me open that up and drop it in the chat quickly.
Awesome,
It might have a whole bunch of errors and a lot of really specific things to Stony Brook that might be kind of boring to other people, but I'd be happy to share it for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll also add it to the slides for later.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then, yeah, and then our course catalog, I used a PDF version of it, but I've got a link that I'll put in here. Great.
Yeah, I think what you said about like asking Flint to help with the prompt engineering is definitely like something that I think a lot of people overlook. It's like typically it feels like you're fighting the AI rather than working with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I do want to say like recently we gave Flint more knowledge about itself. Like this is like maybe a week ago or a week and a half ago. We trained it on all of its own like documentation, our help center. So it should be better at recommending what it is able to do and how you can like prompt it better now. So yeah, definitely leverage that if you all can. Cool. If there are no questions for now.
I just have, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of you, Austin. I didn't want to move on until Jeff, just real quick, any feedback from your counseling guidance department? Like, are they feeling like this is, had the students started meeting with the counselors or their advisors or whatever you guys use for course selection? And like, are they saying that this has been helpful for the students?
Yes, yeah. We have a very small counseling department. It's pretty much me and our registrar. So really good feedback from me. But our college counselors in particular have liked it a lot too. It's been really helpful. Also in just communicating with families, whether it's in their native language or something that they can answer that question at 12:30 a.m. that our college counselor doesn't want that email about. They've been grateful for some of that, and it does answer a lot of those questions pretty quickly. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it's been a really great middle ground between knowing nothing, so that when we kind of send this out before they meet with us, and then they like to fiddle around with it first, so that when they come to us, they at least have a good baseline knowledge, even if it's not working perfectly. That's been really helpful, especially.
And then my follow-up question was just then, did you just share this out to the students since they have the accounts, or did you enable this so that like can mom and dad use this independent of the student?
Yeah, so for data and security reasons, so internally our students can just see it immediately on their Flint page, but we do make it available to all new students who don't have like our Gmail accounts yet. So what we did is we made a separate workspace, I think it's called SBS Placement, and that one, as long as you have a Google account, which pretty much everyone will have, then you can at least log in, even if it's not your school email account. So we did that just for data safety reasons, but that's been really helpful too, because we didn't just want to make like a chat GPT link that would do it. That's been awesome. So.
It's another question for you. First of all, love the way that you're using it. Really interesting and innovative. It sounds like families are generally happy about, you mentioned different languages or late nights. Has there been any pushback in terms of families, saying that they want to speak to a human? And I don't know if you're using Flint in other areas where traditionally a human might interact. I'm curious to know maybe parents or students or maybe even teachers have pushed back on this.
Yeah, we haven't actually heard any pushback. The primary reason for that is we haven't made it required. Like we don't say you have to do this instead of meeting with a person. So we basically just make it always available, and in my course registration emails, or when a new family enrolls, they get an automatic email from me, and we just put it in that, and it kind of keeps hounding them until they actually register for courses. So what we've done is basically simultaneously made a phone call or a Zoom call with me available and linked this in it. And so some families just don't like this, and so they don't use it, and that's fine, and they can still talk to the human. But if we were to like entirely replace me with that, I can see why they probably wouldn't like it. But because it hasn't been mandatory, it's only had good success. Some kids just don't like it, so they just don't use it, and we're okay with that. So.
Great, thanks.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff. That was really cool. Awesome. Yeah, I think it feels like most of the people in here honestly are familiar faces and probably know about Flint and how to use it and everything already. But just in case there are people who are just getting started, I'll really quickly walk through like a demonstration of how to set up some activities and chats. So within Flint, let me find here all the links. Okay. So like I was saying earlier, you can create either a chat or an activity. Both of the examples that Jeff and Megan shared were activities, and you can see how much like additional crafting can go behind these to really make the interaction structured in the way that you want. But you can also encourage your teachers, your staff, your students to also use the chats in Flint. And I just wanted to show a couple examples of what that might look like and what might be helpful there. So in this one, yeah, Flint has access to the internet, so I gave it this prompt of designing a standards-based curriculum map for ninth graders, and then I uploaded the English language arts standards for Georgia, and then it was able to help me do that. It created a bunch of documents actually, the first of which was like an overview of what like for an entire 9 weeks curriculum could look like with core text to read, what sort of standards they would be focusing on, and like I didn't add a lot of details about like how like my specific school approaches curriculum mapping or like standards and integration and all that. So I think if you add that context into Flint, it can definitely be a lot more personalized to how your school decides to teach students. But it gave like a really good baseline here of like major assessments that could be done, and just like really map that out very quickly. And then it even gave me like weekly implementation guides for what to do week to week, what sort of activities every day could have. I will say one caveat is I think Flint and AI in general, they tend to be very optimistic with how quickly students can get work done and how many activities you can do in a week. So yeah, just make sure that you're like, you can ask it to like tone it down and like take things slower if you need to. But yeah, that's like something that I've noticed at least. And yeah, it even created like an assessment guide with different kinds of assessments, formative and summative, for each of the different types of um, standards that need to be met. Yeah, so that was a lot of information that it can like very quickly give you as a starting point. This example, so I heard of some people doing this with Flint already, so I tried to recreate it in the chat here. But basically, I like uploaded some images of this lesson plan, and then I said, these are my lesson plans for the year. Like, are there any standards for the state of Maryland that I'm missing? And so Flint was actually able to look up the standards for Maryland. And yeah, it's like looking from the State Department of Education and like pulling up all of the math stuff because the lesson plan was for math. And yeah, and then it was able to like identify potential gaps, and then that it gave me some recommendations about how to improve my lesson planning to align better with the standards. And so, yeah, I saw some people using Flint for this purpose as well. You can create this as an activity for your teachers if you want, or you can show them how to do it really quickly through a chat as well. Yeah, and I think, yeah, it also like created a lesson plan for like a specific recommendation that I had asked it to do. Okay, cool. And then for, yeah. And then on the activity side of things, let me go back to the homepage. So I'll walk you through an example of how to create an activity kind of similar to the one that Megan was showing, but basically like a learning design assistant. So here I'm going to scroll down to create an activity, create a custom one, since this is not a typical thing that we have. And then I'm putting in this prompt. Of course, I would suggest like customizing it more to your school, but here I'm saying, I'm giving it first, hey, this is the persona that I want you to take on, so learning design assistant for teachers. And then I'm saying what I want it to do with the teachers. So I want you to help them define the desired outcomes and objectives by interviewing them first, and then help write their curriculum documentation and lesson plans. So that's like the focus of this activity. And then I'm giving it some background. Oh, I think, there we go. Okay. School is an independent K-8 school in Pennsylvania and needs to follow the Pennsylvania teaching standards. And I gave it like the link to where it could find those standards and told it to reference that. And then also to find the relevant standards according to the teacher's grade, level, and subject. Yeah, so I think like a couple things to note here in this prompt are giving the AI like the persona to take on can be really helpful. So like by default, it's going to treat them as a student trying to learn. But in this case, like we're not necessarily needing the teachers to learn about standards, or like it's not as informational. We're wanting it to like actually act as an assistant. So that's why I'm saying it very explicitly there. And then of course, any like additional documentation and resources that you can provide Flint are always helpful. And yeah, so now it's going ahead and creating this activity. Might take a second there. But yeah, as you can see, it's gone ahead and written all of these changes for me. Yeah, and this is also like where I would suggest like if you're trying to work on the prompt engineering with Flint, you can ask it for feedback here and ask it questions like, what ways are you going to ask teachers about what they need to do, like, and then really hone in on like the question set that it's going to be asking and hone in on the persona that it's taking. Yeah, and then here, of course, you can always like split the session, see what the back and forth might look like, and then yeah, and you can also try it out on your own. But yeah, I'm gonna ask it to do one more thing. This is something that I've really enjoyed doing recently with Flint because it can be kind of wordy. I'm asking it to make responses short and sweet. And I said, like, we don't need to read so much text when planning. Yeah, so anything from like those sorts of things where it's like you just want Flint to act in a different way to additional context around your school and how you all curriculum plan, those would be good to give Flint as feedback. Yeah, cool. And then of course you can create this activity, share it out with people. A couple things to know also are if you're uploading content, make sure that the content is either, you know, like something from your computer, like a PDF or an Excel sheet. Those are like really easy for Flint to access. If you have any links to things that are like behind logins or behind paywalls, that will not be accessible to Flint. So just make sure that whatever you're uploading, Flint can access. You can even ask Flint like, hey, can you read that document that I put in? And Flint will like verify whether or not it can. Yeah, cool. Okay. Any questions about building out activities actually? Nice. Okay. So I think I just have a couple more slides left. Yeah, to summarize, like, yeah, give Flint context on your school and your needs. Upload examples. We saw Jeff do this a lot with his activity as well. And then, yeah, get feedback from teachers, iterate. And I think all of the Shareouts kind of touched on this, but also even like the podcast that I mentioned at the beginning, he was saying that for the bot that he was building, they updated it every month. So I do feel like a lot of these will be like living and breathing activities. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get it right the first time, but also like, you know, always come back to it, ask people what they think, and that will only make it even better for you all. Yeah, and on the right hand side here is another template that I had found actually where Dion had created a interactive coaching session where Flint serves as a digital citizenship coach. So giving guidance on how to create lesson plan ideas that are integrated with IB and also like having students engage with activities that really help utilize the common sense media resources and helping teach digital citizenship. So that's also available in the template library if you guys want to check it out. Might be relevant for this topic as well. Yeah, okay. I will go ahead and wrap up, I guess, if there are any questions. Oh, yes. Yeah, let me grab that right now, actually. There you go. Okay. Great. Yeah, next week we won't have a campfire session because the majority of our team will be at a conference. But the next ones that I am thinking about planning will be for arts and design and then also ACT and SAT prep. Probably going to do a summer series soon. So if you all have any sessions that you'd like to see, feel free to let me know. And yeah, the recording will be posted on our website. It'll be shared out to everyone who registered after this. And I do want to say that we have set up a new Flint community platform. So kind of like a mix of a forum and like a Q&A area and just like a space for you all to do more of basically what these campfire sessions are meant to do, but asynchronously. So if you go to our community, you'll be able to see the different spaces that we've set up for people to, you know, chat about how they're using Flint, ask questions. We have like a support and solutions section as well where people can ask for help from each other and also from our team. We have this area for you all to share the triumphs that you've had with Flint and cool things that you've made that have worked. And then we'll also like post all of the campfire sessions in here for like an easy access to the calendar. But yeah, if you all haven't joined that yet, here's a QR code where you can sign up. Oh, Sorry, I think I clicked the wrong button. Here's a QR code where you can sign up. And yeah, we'll also add like single sign-on to it soon. I think that's one of the things that the engineers are working on, but right now you'll have to like create an account with a password. But yeah, any questions about curriculum planning, curriculum mapping? Anyone else who wants to like share anything that you've done as well? We definitely have some time for that.
I just want to give a shout out to the new voices situation. I don't know if folks have tried it, but it is like night and day in terms of the the quality of the text to speech with the OpenAI voices. It's very, very high quality. So thanks for updating that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Yossi. Yeah, we were very excited about that too. And we were like, I think we had tried OpenAI voices like a while back, but there weren't as many of them, and we wouldn't be able to like provide as much usage like across different subjects or across different languages. So we were really excited to see that they had like updated it even further. And I guess that's just the nature of this AI age. You'll check something 1 month and then a couple months later, it'll be really good. And yeah, so that's why we were able to like add it into Flint, and glad that you all are loving it too. But yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we can end this session a bit early. I know the structure was a bit different, but hopefully you all also enjoyed. But yeah, see you all in a couple weeks. Cool. Bye.